Hey everyone, welcome to the Hey Hannah podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Maya Fields, but to my friends and those who know me well, I'm just Maya. I'm a higher education administrator, a mother, and a wife of 14 amazing years. But above all, I'm a Christ follower. This podcast is a special platform created to honor the memory of my beloved daughter, Hannah. It's here that I have the chance to have the conversations that I never got to have with her, to share the wisdom and love I wish I could have passed on. It's a reminder to cherish the precious moments we're given and a testament to the power of healing, hope, and personal growth. If you're someone who's seeking personal growth, inspiration, and practical advice to build a solid foundation for a successful and fulfilling life, this is the place for you. Join me as we honor Hannah's memory together. Laugh, cry, and learn. Get ready for a podcast that is so much more than you could ever imagine. The Hey Hannah podcast, healing hearts, one conversation at a time. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Hey Hannah podcast. Thank you all so much for continuing to join in. I'm so excited for you all to hear this episode today. We have multi-award winning business growth strategist Kaitlyn Cook here with us today, and she is in the top 1% in her field. What she does on a day-to-day basis is really help service-based CEOs become unstuck and scale with ease. But what's most important is today, Kaitlyn wants to make sure that she can tell you her amazing story and how you can overcome any challenge to really achieve your desires. And I love that she goes about this with a mindset of intentionality. We talk about being intentional all the time with the things that we do. So I'm excited to have Kaitlyn sharing with us today as the expert so we can get some advice from her on how to be more intentional with the things we're doing in our life. So Kaitlyn, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you so much, Maya. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Me too. So I mentioned a little bit of a teaser that you have had a very exciting life and your life experiences have really shaped kind of where you've been. I know you mentioned that you felt like at one point you were stuck. So now you help CEOs become unstuck. Can you describe for us, kind of the moment you realized you were stuck in the cycle you were in? And even though you were at the beginning of your career, how did you realize that was a thing and what did you do about it? What was the next step?
Yeah, definitely. So I remember it's such a pivotal memory of mine when I had a quarter life crisis. I was 26 and I was sitting in my office that I'd been sitting in for 3 years, and I'd been in this office space that I'd been in for, almost a decade, sitting on my desk, and another client had come in and said, I'm stuck. I need this help with my business. I want all this. And I just thought to myself, oh my God, here I am helping everybody else get unstuck and move and change and travel and feel fulfillment. Yet I'm still doing the same thing I did last year and the year before and the year before. And I thought, I'm going to ask myself a question that scared me. And I was like, if I just expand my life for another year, what will it look like? And there's such an immense feeling of it will be the exact same. And I was like, how would I feel if that was the case? And there was such a disconnect. And I was like, I'm actually not living my life. I'm just going through the motions of life. I was always promised and told, you buy a house, you get to this point, you have a dog, you get to this point, you have a relationship, you get to this, and you get happy. And I was like, and I'm not happy. None of that has made me happy. So I was so scared to change.
Yeah.
But to stay the same scared me more. So that's when I was like, that's it. I'm taking a career break. I'm moving to the other side of the world. I'm changing everything and I'll just see what happens. And I did.
Wow. It's so hard. Well, first say, I definitely can recognize what you mean by giving advice to others, but you don't kind of take that on yourself, like encouraging them and motivating them, like, you could do this, you got this. And then you're just like, relaxing. It's very easy to do that. But, we talk about a lot on the show, every living thing should be growing, including us. This is the thing. It's very easy to fall into a cycle of just being comfortable and not pushing ourselves any further. But if we really think about it, it's just like your muscles. Even though you can be intentional with working those muscles and getting stronger and maintaining your health, or you can be comfortable. But this is the thing, you're not just sitting there, you are regressing. And so that's the same thing with us as people. And it's hard to hear. And we all have to deal with it because it's nice to be comfortable, wrapped in your little blanket, watching your Netflix. It's nice to do those things. But the hard truth is, even if we decide not to grow, we're regressing. We're not staying in our same place. So it's hard to deal with sometimes. But you moved across the world, so you didn't do that. You decided that you were doing something a little bit different. Can you tell us a little bit about that process of just saying, like, this is it. I'm going to a completely new place and I'm doing things different. How was that?
That was big. So I also want to preface this with change is a choice and staying the same is a choice. So when I had the realization of if nothing changes, nothing changes. So if I'm not willing to change, nothing's going to change. And it was this radical responsibility of I'm not happy because I am choosing not to be happy, not because somebody else is doing something. So it was hard to swallow, to be like, oh, this is me. This is my responsibility. Well, that kind of sucks a little bit, but okay. So with that realization, I was like, okay. So when I had the moment, I was like, I'm going to just change everything. I was so scared in the moment because I was so numb. I numbed myself emotionally for so many years, just
Yeah.
because in such a habit of doing the same thing. I was the best of my, like what I did, I knew it all, but I was so detached from who I truly was that I
Yeah.
didn't feel anymore. So in that moment, that's when all the feelings rushed in and I was like, oh my gosh, this is who I am. I'm so scared. And so I kind of took myself in that moment and went, right, when I'm 80 and I'm sitting, having a cup of tea, loving my life, thinking about the memories, how do I want to define this moment in my life? And with that, where I was like, I wanted to define this as the moment that I had no idea what I was going to do, but I did it anyway. That big adventure moment. So then I had a friend who lived in London. So I was like, I'm just gonna come over, and she's like, sure, you've got a place. I'm like, fantastic. So I packed everything in one suitcase. I got on the plane. I cried my eyes out. And then I honestly, and I thought, when you see a movie and you're like, when they get on the plane and they land, it's like Emily in Paris. It's like, I've got this. I can do this. Wasn't that for me? I spent 3 months crying. I spent 3 months feeling everything I've never felt before. And I was like, what am I doing? This is horrible. But I needed to feel. I needed to just have the space to just let myself be. And then through that, I started to redefine who I was, what I wanted,
Yeah.
moment by moment. Not, it wasn't this big grand gesture. It was these moments of who do I want to be? So I don't know who I am anymore. So who do I actually want to be? And I started to cultivate who I want to be in those moments. And it was a choice. And it's in those tiny moments where it's so hard because you choose you. And it's that radical responsibility of I choose me. This choice might be the wrong choice. There'll be negative and positive consequences, but it gets to be my choice and I get to live it. And that really grounded me.
I love so much about what you said. There are so many gems there, but one thing that I really just want to highlight, I loved how you talked about the small choices because a lot of times we see, like you said, Emily in Paris, you just see the mountaintop, and you think, well, why didn't I just go to the mountaintop? So something must be wrong. I'm not doing it. But, it is in the small things. And I love that you highlighted that, like a to what am I going to do now? And it is kind of hard. I know you said that, but it's hard to sometimes realize it's you and you got to do something different. And you have to decide, who do I want to be? Have some foresight about who you want to be in the future and what decisions are you going to make to get there. So I love that. I absolutely love that. So at some point, you met your fiance
Mhm.
and then your child came along and you mentioned that shortly after, this was all around COVID. So, can you tell us a little bit about that process? And then a lot of this was new for you. So, I love if you could just tell us a little bit about your mental health during that time. Like, how did you make the steps to still be mentally healthy and take on all these new aspects of yourself, mother, your partner, all these things?
Yeah, most definitely. To explain this in its entirety, I met my now fiance Tom in 2018, and my visa for the UK, so he's English, my visa for the UK expired in January 2019. So we were like, what are we going to do? Like, we've been in a relationship for 10 months and we'd said, I love you. And like, as soon as I met him, everything in my body was like, yes. I didn't know. I was so scared, and I was so scared of being loved. It was this whole beautiful evolution for us. But then we were like, what are we going to do? We either pay $7,500 to live in each other's countries, or we take a third option and we go and just travel Southeast Asia for a year, spend 24/7 together. And then, if our relationship doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it works, it works. So we did that. So for 2019, we spent a year traveling while I started growing my business. And we had so much fun. It was so fun. Like, he saw every part of me and
Oh,
I saw every part of him, and we just grew more in love. Someone's at the front door. My bell just went off. And then, so through all this, it was really, really beautiful. And then what happened is in January of 2020, we went to Australia, and we were then going to go to Nicaragua and Costa Rica. And we were like, we're going to go for a surf trip, another year of travel. Let's just do that. It'd be really lovely. And I went to the doctors, and the doctor's like, oh, by the way, you're pregnant. And I was like, what? I'd been told my whole life I'd never get pregnant. I was told I'd never have children. So I was like, this is a surprise. So then we went 2 days later to check out, the baby in my belly now. And they're like, oh, no, you're 12 weeks pregnant. I'm like, what? And then I went again 2 days later. They go, no, you're 16 weeks pregnant in 1 day. And so I was like, what? I was like, I think I could have children. Now I've got a 4-month in my belly. Okay, cool. And by the way, it's COVID. So have fun with that. So I was like, okay, we can do this. So mental health wasn't great. So when I first actually found out about it, I would wake up and watch Michael McIntyre's skits, the comedian, because I think he's hilarious. And I would just spend the morning listening to him because he made me laugh and put me in a really good place. And so I did that, and it was really beautiful. And my pregnancy, I was very blessed. It was a lovely pregnancy. Up until the end, I ended up having like eclampsia, and it wasn't a great situation. So then afterwards, when we were going through COVID, I had Alfie, and I didn't know how to be a mother. I didn't know how to do any of this. And I went through an entire identity shift. And now 4 years later, I look back and go, that was the greatest thing that ever happened. But it was the hardest thing that ever happened. So mental health-wise, struggled with postpartum depression, anxiety, and PTSD. So I actually seeked help, like from a therapist, to talk through it. But then I actually started doing a lot more meditation, a lot more journaling, and I was just like, I'm in the depths of who I am right now, so let me just figure out who I am amongst all of this darkness and unsure who this is. Let me just hold space for her because
yeah.
she's here. So I did. And I was so fortunate because Tom and I had such a wonderful relationship that I was able to just be like, I can't do anything today. I can just be a mum and breastfeed Alfie. And he's like, I got you. I got you. It's fine. I'm like, thanks.
That is awesome.
But I think I struggled because I hadn't ever asked for help until that point. And then I had to ask for help in the most vulnerable of ways. And that was such an eye-opener. And it's been the greatest gift being a mother, but the identity shift was huge. And so what grounded me has always been work. It's been my own internal work and working with clients. So I had to be like, sometimes it's not about the work you do. It's the woman, it's the mother you are. It's the person you are to yourself. And I realized for me, my mission and drive, the heart piece of my business is my son. So he really opened my heart, which is why I think I went through such an identity shift, because my heart was opened in ways that had never been opened before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I love that. Absolutely love that. So the first piece of advice we have is a relationship tip. If you want your relationship to last, travel the world together, according to Kaitlyn. That's an amazing story. But seriously, I remember hearing this story one time, and it was from this gentleman. He was pretty young, and he lost his family. It was really a series of tragic events that happened. And he was talking to someone and he was just kind of going through the woe is me, like, why is all this hard stuff happening? Like, why am I dealing with this? And he said that the person told him the advice was just learn the lessons. And it's like, as you were talking, that's what I was hearing. But that's very hard to do because a lot of times we want to reflect on this is bad stuff. And it is. It absolutely is. Hard stuff, train wrecks, bad stuff is happening to all of us. But I loved how you highlighted, even in your struggles, you learned some lessons. You learned how to ask for help. That's like next level vulnerability unlocked, you know? It's so it's like so hard. Like, but that's amazing. And, just the ability to open your heart in a way that motherhood shows you to do. Like, you learned the lessons. And I think that's it's a hard thing, but it's a realization that we can come through, like that even in our pits, there are some lessons, some really hard times, but there are some strong lessons that will carry us through. I love how you slid in, by the way, that, we went to Asia, I started my business, but this is no little business. You're doing amazing. You started your business in 19 and you go from earning $7 a day to generating close to $1 million, but you slide in like a sense interweave. I started my business. Tell us about that, please.
So when I started my business, we landed in Bangkok, Thailand, and we honestly only had our laptops. And we only had our laptops because we had no location. We were location independent. So I was like, well, I can't go into like a cafe and work there. So what can I do? And I was like, how the hell can I make money online? That's literally what it was. I was like, I have no idea how to do this. Like, what do I do? And so I wrote down what I'm really good at. I wrote down what I can do. And then I was like, cool, where do I start? And then for us, money meant time. So at that stage when we first landed, I think we had like 3 months of time together. So we had to find more money to expand the time. So for me, that was my driving force because I was like, we run out of money, we can't be together. So I didn't, and I've also earned that amount of money without a website or social media. I've only just got a website and social media. So because I was like, I like to simplify things because the journey of entrepreneurship is all about the mental, the emotional shifts, the coming up against yourself, the redefining who you are. So all of that is such important and profound work. The strategy itself is so simple. Like, it is so simple, but we overcomplicate it so we don't have to do the deep work of change. So for me, I was like, right, how do I make money? And so I went on a platform called Upwork, and I'm a top 1% on Upwork. And that's what I did. I just went on there every day and I put in proposals to get work, and then people would come in and they'd review, and I'd get the next person, word of mouth, and it would just escalate and continue like that. And I continued, and I have always continued this business, and Tom's now the co-director with me as well, and he's working on the expansion side of the business while I'm doing what it is that I love in it. But at one stage, because I've always worked in finance, we budgeted and we only had $7 a day that we could live off, which meant X amount of time together. So yeah, we went from $7 a day to now like traveling multiple times and just, being very comfortable.
They say, thank God for growth.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story. You mentioned that the first thing you did is you wrote down what you're good at.
Yes.
I have a lot of people who mention they don't know what they're good at. Can you tell us a little bit about when you realized that these are some areas that I just really excel in? Is this something you always knew? Did you go through a process of identifying that? How can you give any advice for how to even identify the gift?
Yeah, definitely. So this is an identity thing. So when I talk identity in this context, I mean, just be quiet within yourself. Don't have other people around you. Just journal on it, meditate on it, talk to yourself about it, however it's going to work. And the thing with business, when I say what you're good at, it's also what you're good at but enjoy. You can create any business you want. So why not create one that you love, that you want it? Because if you love it, you're energized by it. When you're energized about it, you're creative, you do more things, you connect more. If you're just doing it but you hate it, you're always going to want to pivot and shift. So in terms of what you're good at, what I did is I was like, right, what have I done before? And this helps with the confidence and imposter syndrome, especially for women as well. So write down, what are you good at? Like, what have you actually been paid for before, which instills the belief that you can be paid for this. And then you'll start to formulate. The first question's the hardest, answering it once, and then it will start to flow. So for me, for example, I've always worked in finance and I've always worked in business. So I was like, what specifically can I do in these areas? And I wrote it down. And then I always do a 0 to 5, 0 being I hate it, 5 being I love it. I would do it without getting paid for it. So then I rated my enjoyment level with each of them. And then from there, I then brought down the list into the ones that I enjoyed the most and what I could earn money doing now. Because for me, time was an issue.
Yes.
So then I started just playing around with it. And then I started doing work for people in that area. And then I went, right, this is what I thought the enjoyment would be. What was it actually? Did I enjoy it? Would I want to do this again? Yep, cool. Now let's just do it again. And then that starts to build confidence in. And it was through that exploration of what can I get paid for? So it started with pitch decks and business plans and the tangibility of, of the paper. But for me, my love and joy is in the internal shifts for CEOs, how to get unstuck, how to shift your beliefs and have that internal transformation. So then I started playing in that realm. How can I integrate this into the work? And it continues to evolve. It is never set in stone. So I think when I started, I was so scared to stick with one thing because I was like, but I don't want this to be me forever.
Yeah.
But it's you in a moment in time and it evolves as you do.
Absolutely. I was just taking notes because that was some good stuff. I liked all the things. You highlighted a lot there, but you talked about a lot of different aspects of your business, like you're putting in different pieces, you're finding out what works. You go from the business plans to figuring out, you really like the internal shift aspect, but that's evolving. It's not like we have one model of a human being. So you're continuing to have to evolve yourself, but your business is still growing and doing well. How did you manage? I'm a partner, I'm a mother, I'm doing those things well, and I also managed to grow my business too. How did you manage all those hats? And I'll throw this little tidbit in, little curveball, especially for women, because a lot of times we take on a lot of responsibility outside of a business aspect. So how are you doing all those things and doing them?
Great questions. Thank you for that. And I appreciate the depth of this and the honesty of it as well, because it's true. It's a balancing act. I think first and foremost, my core belief is your business will only grow as much as you do. So if you're not growing your business, is it growing? And growth means resistance. It means having difficult conversations. It means saying no when you'd normally say yes. It means choosing something else over something else, like completely changing, but in the small moments and small choices. So for me, when I became a mum, I realized in the early days, this child needs everything.
Yeah.
For me, I'm breastfeeding, needs everything. And for me, it was so interesting because I was always a doer, masculine, like, I've got this. I'm a provider. I can do this. And then all of a sudden I'm breastfeeding. I'm a mother. I'm like, I can't do this feminine. I can just be. What is this? This is a waste of time. Like, I couldn't just be breastfeeding my child and that's enough.
Yeah.
So I learned that. And I was like, wait a minute. I want to be with my child and play with my child, but I'm so resistant to it. So I was like, I've got to learn how to just be in this discomfort of being. And so I slowly just lent into that. And again, it's by giving yourself 1 minute just to be. Yeah. And then you go away and then you come back and try again. So I realized for him in the moments, I always thought it was balance, like 50-50, but it's never. Balance never works. Never 50-50. It's never 25-20. Just what it is in the moment in the day. Yes. So when Alfie was first born, I was like, cool. He napped in the middle of the day for 2 hours. I was like, brilliant. That is my work time. So I worked I scaled 6 figures for 2 hours in the middle of the day because that is all I had. So that is what I did because it allowed me to be a better mum. And then I was a better mum because I was a better business person. And then I would just be so open with Tom. And I'm like, this is what I want. This is where I'm going. And he's like, okay, cool. How can I support you with this? And I'm like, can you maybe just do some housework? Because I try and do it when I'm with Alfie, but the house is never clean. He's like, that's fine. I've got you. The house takes me 20 minutes to clean. It takes you 8 hours. How about I just take it on?
Wait.
Yeah. So it was a really beautiful compliment when I got into the mindset of when I work through the discomfort of a moment, whether it's with my partner and having a conversation, putting up a boundary, saying something I need, asking for help, that helps me grow in my business. And it
Yeah.
helps clients grow, and the same as being a mother. So it was all integrated, all interconnected. So it was never one or the other. It was always, I work in my business to be a better woman so I can be a better mum, a better partner, and the same always goes. So I've definitely come to realize it's never 50-50. It is a moment by moment, day by day. There's seasonalities of life as well. I've come to realize there's seasonalities where I will nap every day happily. There's seasons where I will work 10 hours nonstop because I'm motivated, inspired. And I don't get annoyed about myself anymore. I'm just like, this is the energy I'm in right now, and it's not forever. It's a moment in time. And what was your second add-on question to that?
So my add-on question was specifically for women, because we tend to sometimes try to balance a lot of things. But I think you touched on this because you highlighted how Tom continues to support you, but you also mentioned the type of support you need. So, it seems like a lot of good communication is going on there, which is helpful. Like, say what you need and allow others to support you, which sometimes is hard to do.
Well, Tom and I spent 24/7 together traveling Southeast Asia, and we saw the worst of each other and the best of each other. So we have conversations like we never used to have before. So and they have been uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah.
But also, because I can always feel the resistance and the discomfort when things need to change in our life. So we up until last year, we were both trying to raise Alfie, do the business, all this stuff. And we're like, right, what's our priorities? Our priorities is the business. So do we want to be spending a couple of few hours cleaning the house? No. Can we pay a cleaner to come and clean the house so it's done once a week? We support our local business, and then we don't feel guilty about not doing it because I don't want to do it and he didn't want to do it. I'm like, let's do it then. And that really helped. That really, really helped.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Buying back your time. I hear that phrase a lot when you outsource things, like buy back some of your time if you can. I'll also say hats off for you for breastfeeding. That breastfeeding is not for the faint of heart. I have Haven and Hendrix. And so I breastfed both of them for a year. And I don't know if I even shared this before, but with Hannah, I still pumped for 6 months and donated. I connected with a local mom who had just actually adopted. And so I pumped for 6 months and donated to her. So let me tell you, it is hard, hard work. And it is, especially when you're used to like go, 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 because you can't do a lot while you're hooked up. You can try. You're going to learn to be if you're breastfeeding. You're definitely going to learn that. So when you said learn to just be, I'm like, yes, that was me. I had to learn to just be. You definitely have to do that because you're going to be taking some time just to kind of sit there for a bit. So a lot of your business is helping people to get unstuck. What is it that you even think that we get into this place of just being stuck? And what is that whole, is it a mind thing? Is it we're just so used to doing the same things over and over again, so that's easiest? And how do you even realize like I am the person that's stuck?
So the people who come to me and they're stuck, and it's all interconnected, and this is why I love doing what I do. If you want to grow a business, it starts with your mind. It starts with your thoughts. What are you thinking on repeat? And when you're stuck, it's because you're in a loop of thought, creating the same emotions, creating the same outcome. That is literally as complicated and simplistic as it is. And we get stuck because of the fear of change, the fear of something new.
Yeah.
And for us, like the psychology of it comes from when we were younger. It's like your parents would say to you, don't do that. You got to be safe. Don't do that. Don't go too fast. You got to be safe. I notice myself saying it to my son now who's 4. And I'm relearning so much from the ages of when I was 0 to 4 because of what I say to him. And I'm like, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
And you realize the power of what's just in playing in the background without you even realizing it. And we are so disconnected from ourselves and so connected to the external world that we take everything else everybody else is saying and just piling it on. And I find for the people who are stuck, it's because there is so much piled on, you don't even know where to start. You feel so heavy. You're like, I can't change because I don't even know where I'm trying to go. Because there's so much noise of what I should be doing, what somebody believes and thinks, and they've stopped listening to what they ultimately want. So a lot of my work and what I truly believe is just let it go. You let go, you get lighter, because as you let go, you can move just a little bit. And you don't have to move to the top of the mountain. You just move to the base. And you instill that belief. So when you move to the base of that mountain you want to climb, you've instilled a new thought that it's possible to move. Then you do it. Then you do it again. Then you do it again. And it's like any new dream, like when people come to me and they want to scale like to 5, 6, 7 figures, and they've never done it before, but they've achieved something before. It's instilling, well, what have you done before that you didn't think you ever could?
Yeah.
And it's remembering that you've done this. And it does take that objective viewpoint to be able to say to somebody, that thought you're having on loop, on repeat, is keeping you where you are. And that thought most often is, I can't do this. How am I even going to do this? Who am I to think I can do this? I'm not enough. I can't be a mum and run a successful business. So you desire something, but there's a push-pull I call it a push-pull in your body. You desire something out here because there's a fire inside of you, but there's a push-pull energy of, but who am I to do this? I can't possibly do this. This isn't right if I do this. Oh my God. What will people think if I do this? I'll just stay small and exactly where I am so I don't create discomfort for other people. But what happens is you're just creating discomfort for yourself. So there's a real self-empowerment that comes where you start choosing you. Because when you choose you, you listen to what you want. When you choose what you want and you say, actually, I want to do this, and you take an action step, you're solidifying that new habit of, I'm doing what I want to do. And that comes into that like radical self-responsibility. And it's so, so beautiful, especially after when we've gone through such hardships in our life, varying degrees, your entire identity gets shifted. It gets completely wiped away. And it's in those moments of, what the hell is all of this, that you get to redefine who you are in that. And that one step will change everything. That's all you need to do. Just take one simple step.
Take that one step forward. Yeah. You mentioned a lot of times you find with people being stuck is that they feel like I failed before, or I'm going to fail, or who am I to do this? And it kind of reminded me of something I heard one time. When children are learning to walk, when babies are learning how to walk, they fall all the time. And they fall like every 2 steps. And what do we do when they fall? You can do it. Get back up. You got this. It's the same type of thing. The child falls like literally 15 times trying to take 3 steps. And we never are like, okay, you're done. You're just not going to walk in this lifetime. I guess it's over for you. That everyone smiles and cheers, and instinctively here come the hand claps and let me grab the phone. They took a half a step today. But now as adults, we don't carry that same type of encouragement for ourselves, and even sometimes for our community around us, the people that we are doing life with. And so hopefully, if anyone's listening, you'll think of that little step, like just the same way you want to encourage that little cute baby who's taking those steps. And yes, it's cute. It's amazing. No one tells their child, I guess you're just not going to ever walk. That's it. You keep encouraging. So hopefully, if anyone's listening, you'll remember that story and you'll take on, that spirit of continuous encouragement for yourself and, those around you too. So I'll ask, as we're looking ahead with your business in your life, where do you see your business in your personal life in the next 5 years? And what excites you most about the future?
So I actually really love It's called collapsing time.
Mm.
That's something I'm learning, collapsing time. So what I used to earn in a year, I now earn in a week or a month. And I want to be able to collapse and keep collapsing time, because for me, everything's a pattern. So
Yeah.
if I can really work on this, the quicker my results come, the quicker my clients' results come. And it's not because you need to get tangibility. Some people need tangibility to believe, but it's to be able to go, I'm capable of anything. I can just play with whatever I want. So I really want to collapse time and just keep, for me, generational wealth is a huge, huge thing, because no one in my family has ever done that.
Yeah.
And for me, it's being able to be the empowered woman I've always envisioned myself to be, so I can empower other people to live the life they ultimately want. So that's my driving force. And honestly, it's so interesting because my partner and I were having a conversation like this the other day, and we were feeling a bit stuck. And I was like, our life and our relationship has always been an adventure. Like, we've always been doing something, going somewhere, experiencing something. So I was like, but we're kind of in a plateau of not really doing much. What do we want to do? And he's like, honestly, I want to have another child. I'm like, cool. So do I. So we want to have another child. Yeah. So we're planning our wedding for next year. And also we want to buy properties because we love doing things together. Like, we're a really good team. So we're like, let's start a property portfolio and just start doing stuff to that. I'm like, yeah, I'd love to do public speaking and motivational talk. That's something that just drives like my heart. It's such a vulnerable thing to admit, but I'm like, that's what I really love to do. That's how I see my work progressing, is being able to connect with people in a more motivational, inspirational way to say, this is how you can achieve whatever you desire, which has taken me a long time to admit that, because I used to judge people who would do that. I'd be like, don't you tell me that. And now I'm that person. I'm like, now I get it.
That's hilarious. It's hilarious when it comes full circle. Kaitlyn, it has been absolutely a joy having you here today. I feel like this conversation can continue to go on and on. You are so full of wisdom. And I feel like if anyone's just listening to your story, you picked up so many things. Like, you continuously had a why. You always identify like your driving force. You talked a lot about having that positive mindset and that attitude of, I can do it. One thing I loved continuously in your story is you set aside periods to reflect. A lot of times we get so busy in the day-to-day life, from the dishes to the laundry to it's bedtime, or what are we doing for lunch tomorrow? Okay, who's going to soccer practice? That we don't necessarily take the time to reflect. And I love that you have been intentional about reflection periods, because that seems to be when you've identified when you needed to pivot. And sometimes we need to do that, but we have to set aside that time for reflection. And what I absolutely love most, everyone knows I'm an educator, I work in education. You are committed to growth and committed to learning, a lifelong learner. And I love that you just peppered those things into what you do in your everyday life. And that's just kind of, I feel like that's a recipe for success. So thank you for sharing all of those amazing things with us. Now, we end every episode of the show with the same question. And I feel like we've kind of heard a lot of great advice from you today, but still, just in the spirit of the Hey Hannah podcast, we end with the same question. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received, or a piece of advice you would give to someone that you deeply care about?
If nothing changes, nothing changes. And when one thing changes, everything changes. So just take one micro action, and that could be turn left instead of turning right on your walk. That creates change, and it can be as simple and beautiful as that.
That's amazing. I love it. I love it. I love it. Kaitlyn, how can people find you? Are you on social media? Are you on Instagram? Are you on Facebook? Where can the people follow you?
I'm on social media now, yes. So my Instagram is Grow with Kaitlyn, but it's spelled GRO and then with Kaitlyn with a K. My website is thekcc.co, and I'm on YouTube as well, Grow with Kaitlyn.
I love it. I love it. Guys, tune in, because I feel like you're going to get a lot of good information. We've only been here just about 30 minutes and we got a lot of life-changing stuff. So you might want to continue to grow with Kaitlyn on these social media platforms as well. Again, Kaitlyn, it has been absolutely a joy having you here. Hannah's Hive, thank you so much again for continuing to tune in and support the podcast. Love having you here. And I hope that you have gained some information today that's going to help push your life forward. Thank you all so much again. And everyone, till next time, take care.
Then that's it. I'm out of here.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Hey Hannah podcast. We hope that you found inspiration, insight, and encouragement in our conversation today. If you enjoyed this episode and want to stay connected with us, be sure to like, subscribe, and review the Hey Hannah podcast. Your feedback helps us reach more people and spread our message of love and wisdom. You can also follow us on social media at Hey Hannah Podcast. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok to stay updated on all the latest episodes, behind-the-scenes exclusives, and engaging content. And for those of you who prefer the visual experience, catch the video versions of our podcast on our YouTube channel. Just search Hey Hannah Podcast and hit that subscribe button to never miss an episode. For even more Hey Hannah goodness, visit our website at www.heyhannahpodcast.com. There you'll find updates, bonus content, and join a community that embraces you with open arms. Your continued support truly means the world to us. Together, let's spread love, share wisdom, and honor every precious moment. Because here at Hey Hannah, we believe that life is meant to be lived well. Remember, a new episode of the Hey Hannah podcast is released every Wednesday, so mark your calendars and be sure to tune in. Thank you again for being a part of Hannah's Hive. Until next time, take care.
Entertainment. Entertainment.